Cool. We can get started. Welcome to Highlights of the Anacostia River Trail. We're super excited that all of you could join tonight. My name's Ursula. I am the outreach manager here at the Washington Area Bicyclists Association. And one of the things that I do is work on trails through the DC Trail Ranger program. But we're a little different in 2020 with the pandemic. So one of the things we did was doing a lot of online stuff and hired Lori to put together the content and then also do the presentation tonight to, in a pandemic safe way, answer questions, talk to folks, encourage exploration of this fabulous, amazing trail, and give you all the resources, hopefully, to explore more. But Lori is all of the folks, is the brains of tonight. So I'm gonna pass it off to her. Barb, we are recording the video tonight. So the hope is that we can put it potentially on the internet for later. And I'll also try to, when we send out a thank you email, have some of the basics of maps and information that are out there for sharing. So yeah, Lori.
Hi everyone, I'm Lori and I'm the facilitator for tonight. Welcome to WABA webinar about the Anacostia River Trail. We will be talking about all the hows and tos on the trail. I will start with an overview of the Anacostia River Trail, ART for short. Then I will show you how easy it is to access it from metro and bridges. Then I will talk about the amenities and facilities that you will find along the trail. And last, I will let you in on one of the biggest secrets of the trail, the Anacostia neighborhood, and highlight some of the sites and businesses there. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Okay, for this presentation, I am going to say that the Anacostia River Trail will start at the base of the Anacostia River, where the Anacostia River meets the Potomac River at Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, also known to me as the South Capitol Street Bridge. The ART consists of two parts, the East Bank Trail and the West Bank Trail. They both run along both sides of the Anacostia River. Next slide.
Oop, there we go.
More about the ART. The ART connects two national parks, Anacostia Park and Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. For this presentation, we're only talking about the DC portion of the ART, and this is about 16 miles. And it offers a transportation alternate for its local commuters because of its numerous connections to local neighborhoods. Although it is mostly an off-street trail, there are portions of it that include sharrows and protected bike lanes. The ART also provides access to a huge variety of sports, recreational, educational, art, and entertainment facilities, as well as restaurants and shopping. The DC portion of the ART goes from the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge all the way up to right past the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens at US 50. How does the trail look? This is a picture of the ART. So you see the trail here, and this is the street here, and there are signs all along the trails. Next slide, please. And this is a picture of the Sharrow part of the trail. The Sharrow part is where you are allowed to bike in the street and share the lane with drivers. The next picture is a protected lane. This part of the trail is the protected lane. This is the street part. This is a protected lane because you have a barrier between you, the bicyclist, and the traffic. Okay, where does the art goes? The East Bank part of the trail, the East Bank Trail start at the base of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge at Anacostia Park and goes all the way to Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens for the DC portion. The West Bank part of the trail starts at National Park and goes through Kingman.
Switching to the map briefly while you talk.
Okay, go through Kingman, Allen, to Brennan Road, and there it meets the east part of the trail at the River Terrace neighborhood. Then the trail continue as one all the way up to the Kenilworth Park and Aquatic Gardens. Now, there are different types of signage on the art, and we're going to discuss all the different types of signs that you will see as you go along the trail. These are directional signs. Why? Because they point you in a direction, and they are loaded with information. Now, I just put that, you know, DC love to put more than one sign on a post. A good example of that is parking signs. And as you can see here, I captured 4 signs on this one post. So we're going to go through all 4 of them, starting with the top one. Now, one thing that you would notice that throughout the trail, the directional signs are not consistent in what information it offers. They are unique to their location and what is nearby you at that point. And with emphasis on how to get to the other trail section. So if you're on the East Bank Trail, then it would tell you how you can get to the West Bank Trail, the nearby neighborhoods, and the metro. So starting with this sign, the top one tells you what street or bridge that you are near if you are looking to leave the trail. And this one said that you are close to Pennsylvania Avenue and the Sousa Bridge. The next one down tell you that there is a metro station near you. It also tells you how far the metro station is. So from this point, the metro station is 7/10 of a mile, and it's the Potomac Avenue station. Also, it tells you what color lines that particular station serves. So the Potomac Avenue station serves the blue, the orange, and the silver line. Then you have the neighborhoods that you are near. So it tells you that Capitol Heights neighborhood and the direction you want to go through that one. Then the next one below it tells you about the Fairlawn neighborhood. And the Fairlawn neighborhood is only 1/10 of a mile away. And also, if you're going into the neighborhood, it would tell you if that neighborhood have a bike route that you can use. That's what this little thing right here is, the bike route sign for your neighborhood. Thank you. Then the bottom sign on the post tell you how near or far the other trail is. So if we are on the East Bank Trail and we want to get to the West Bank Trail, the West Bank Trail is 6/10 of a mile away via the Sousa Bridge north. And I call the Sousa Bridge Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge. Next slide, please. I call these signs artwork with area information. The artwork portrays something historic about that site, and then there's a fact sheet next to it that gives you the information about that site. And you can find these signs, there are in Anacostia Park. Next slide. This is the information sign slide, and it tells you information about the park, give you the park hours and rules. You can see that in Anacostia Park, no alcoholic beverages are allowed. And the times from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the summer hours are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then all the rest of the year, the park closed at dark. Next slide, please. Another type of sign that you can find throughout the trail is the Capital Bikeshare Maps. Capital Bikeshare stations are located throughout the art, and each station has an area map loaded with information about that area. Bike routes to local neighborhoods is an additional sign that you will find throughout the trail. Can you go back, please? Thank you. Okay. The bike route signs will lead you to the local neighborhoods. They'll tell you what direction you need to go in to get to that neighborhood, and approximately the mileage to get to that location. So for this town, I can go to Anacostia Avenue, Alabama Avenue, and that would be 1.5 miles away. The West Bank Trail is 0.6 of a mile. Capitol Hill is 2.7 miles, and downtown DC is 5.4 miles from this particular location. Next slide, please. I've already stated that the arc goes through many neighborhoods, thus allowing easy access by walking, jogging, or biking. You can also get there by metro and by a lot of the bridges in DC. Some of the neighborhoods on the East Bank Trail are Anacostia, Fairlawn, River Terrace, Parkside, Mayfield, and Kenilworth. Some of the neighborhoods on the West Bank Trail are Navy Yard and Capitol Hills. Next slide, please. Okay. And this is a map of the trail. So Anacostia is down here at this point. And you can move on up to some of the other neighborhoods. This is the Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge, Benning Road, and then Mayfield area. And then all the way up to Kenilworth. And that's the East Bank Trail part of it. Then on this side is the West Bank Trail. This is the Navy Yard area and Capitol Hill area. Next slide. Okay. There are 6 metro stations that have relatively easy access to the Anacostia River Trail. The 3 stations closest to the East Bank Trail of the Art all have parking garages. The 3 stations closest to the West Bank Trail of the Art do not have any parking garage. The 6 stations are Anacostia,
It's right
Minnesota Avenue, huh?
Oh, I'm circling it on the map and it keeps pulling up the caption Google thing. But next one.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Down one, go back one. Okay. The Anacostia Metro Station have parking on garage is on the East Bank Trail. The Minnesota Deanwood, they had parking garage at each bike trail. And then Navy Yard, Potomac Avenue, and Stadium, and they do not have parking garages with them. Next slide. This is a photo of the Anacostia Metro Station parking garage exit. And the reason I put this photo in is because if you take the train to Anacostia Metro Station and you want to get to the trail, you need to exit the station via the parking garage exit, not Howard Road. That would take you closer to the trail. And as soon as you get out of the trail, you see this sign over here that says that the Anacostia River Trail is 0.2 miles away, and it tells you direction to go in to get there. Next slide, please. Okay, we're gonna talk about the bridges that have access to the trail. There are 5 bridges that give access to the Anacostia River Trail. And the good news is that each bridge gives access to both parts of the trail, the east and the west trail. The bridges are Frederick Douglass or South Capitol Street Bridge, the 11th Street Bridge, which is Walsh Bridge, Social Bridge, which is Pennsylvania Avenue, Whitney Young Bridge, which is East Capitol Street, and Ethel Kennedy Bridge, which is Brennan Road. Now, I never knew that the Brennan Road Bridge was Ethel Kennedy until I looked it up. Next slide. Here is a picture of the Frederick Douglass South Capitol Street Bridge. This is at nighttime. They are rebuilding the bridge and they're gonna make it wider. So it's under construction now, but I think it's beautiful, so I put that picture up. This is a daytime picture. I put this picture up because I wanted to show you how it is protected from the traffic. And also, this is just a good point. This is the best place to learn how to use your cleats. Why? Because this is narrow. You can't fall. So if you want to learn how to use your cleats, just come to the South Capitol Street Bridge and ride back and forth until you get used to clipping in and out, and you will not fall. Next slide, please. I just threw that in there. Next slide, please. This one on this side, this is the 11th Street Bridge. This had been redone in recent years, so now we have a nice wide pathway, good for cyclists and pedestrians to get by. This is Benning Road Bridge. And as you can see, this have not been redone, so it's nice and narrow. And so when you have someone come in towards you, you really have to be very careful because it's narrow. And also because it's a sidewalk, there are cracks in the sidewalk and branches from the trees. So please pay attention when you on Benning Road Bridge, because I don't want you to fall by hitting a tree root or a big crack in the road. Okay, there are numerous amenities and facilities along the arc. Why? Remember I told you that the arc consists of 2 national parks. In Anacostia Park, you can fish, you can put your boat in the water using the boat ramp. There are also sports fields to include basketball, tennis, open fields for soccer, football, kickball, etc. There are playgrounds throughout the park. Now this is really important, restrooms. Restrooms may or may not be open. And especially now, I was there on Saturday and the restrooms was closed. I flagged down the park police and asked them why the bathrooms was closed. And they said it's because of the pandemic. Because of the uptick in cases, they now close all the bathrooms and there were no potty johns in the park at all on Saturday. The other nice thing that I really like about the park and this trail is that throughout the trail, there are Capital Bikeshare stations located in it. And that's really nice because if you just happen to go to the park and you didn't ride your bike and you wanted to ride a bike, you can rent one there. And secondly, like I told you, the Capital Bikeshare have maps, and their maps give you a ton of information about what is around you. So it's really nice to see the Capital Bikeshares right along the trails. At Kenilworth, you have a recreation center, playgrounds, track and field, a handball court, and the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. Okay. This is a picture of some of the things that you'll find in Anacostia Park. This is the Anacostia Park skating rink. And they also have a aquatic education center at Anacostia Park. The Aquatic Resource Education Center has more than 40 species of wildlife that live in the Anacostia River and offer an assortment of education programs, clinics, and workshops for all ages. As you continue northbound on the East Bank Trail, you'll go through a few more neighborhoods, parks that offer playgrounds, basketball, baseball, and tennis courts, grill, benches, and Capital Bikeshare stations. Next slide. When, as you go on through the Kenilworth Park, this is the handball court I mentioned, and this is the track and field at the Recreation Center. And as you continue on the trail through Kenilworth, we'll go through the Kenilworth Marsh. And this will lead you to the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. You can take this path here to get to the gardens from the bike trail and see all types of marsh and lilies. The day I went, the road was closed due to high waters. So I just took pictures of what the Kenilworth Aquatic Garden has to offer, since I couldn't get there to take the picture to show you myself that day. And like I said, once you get to the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens, there's a little bit past that is the end of the trail for the district line. You'll be right at US 1, which is New York Avenue, and then that will go into Prince George's County. So we're going to turn back around and traverse back down the trail and go to the West Bank Trail. Now, on the way back from the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens, the first amenity facility that we're going to see would be the Kingman and Heritage Islands. Then across from the Kingman and Heritage Island on Benny Road is Langston Golf Course. Now, this is just a bit of history, and because I'm a Howard University alumni, I have to take the opportunity to tell you all that the golf court, the Langston Golf Court, is named for John Mercer Langston, and he was the first dean of Howard University School of Law. So I just wanted to get that in. And then as you traverse down the West Bank further, we get into the fields at RFK Campus, which is really nice. Next slide, please. Okay, Kingman Islands, Kingman and Heritage Islands. They're right off of Benning Road. And this property, it used to be federal property, but it was given to the district. These islands, there are 2 islands, and they are public parkland dedicated to environmental education and to the preservation of national resource. More than 100 different species of bird and other wildlife live on the two islands. Thousands of students have visit the two islands to participate in environmental and science education program. And like I said, right across from the Kingman Islands is the historic Langston Golf Range. Next slide, please. This is the field at RFK Campus. And these are relatively new within the last year or two. There are restrooms, playgrounds, outdoor fitness stations, a celebration pavilion and plaza, picnic area, walking, biking paths, and dedicated parking. There is also a Capital Bikeshare station there, and they have a cashless concessions. Next slide, please. So that's the outdoor exercise. This is the playground. And this is one of 3 fields that they have open for the public to use. Okay, now we're going to talk about the highlights in Anacostia, some of the secrets of the Anacostia neighborhood. Frederick Douglass' home and historic site is located at 1411 West Street Southeast. This site is managed by the National Park Service, and there is a small parking lot there. It's his house. It's on the top of a hill. Very nice location. And you can see the fireworks on the 4th of July from his house because it's on top of a hill. Another highlight in Anacostia is the Smithsonian Anacostia Community Museum. This museum is located at 1901 4th Place Southeast. This is part of the Smithsonian Museums. And this museum, it examines, documents, and interprets the impact of history and contemporary social studies on urban communities. Also in Anacostia, you'll find the Anacostia Art Center.
Uh-oh. I launched a poll and that was a bad idea.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get back.
Okay.
Share screen.
Got it? She's looking.
This is why you shouldn't try to do fancy things in the middle of presentation. Just trying to drum up interest of Frederick Douglass, because who wouldn't want to? It's an amazing place. Okay.
Well, while we find that, I'm going to try to answer Robin's question. She asked, do we know if the new bridge will have protected bike lanes on both sides? I hate that current sidewalk. And the new bridge, are you talking about Frederick Douglass Bridge? Okay. Ursula, did you see if Robin answer the question. Is she talking about Frederick Douglass Bridge?
Not seeing it in chat. Let's pull up questions.
Or is she talking about the Welsh Bridge is finished?
Yes, to Douglas Bridge.
Do you know Ursula?
Um,
Well, I answer it.
Kathleen there is saying on one side, my understanding of remembering of schematics is yes to both sides. And I think the concern on the advocacy end for Douglas Bridge is the new very large traffic circle things they're installing and kind of what that means for traffic flow, and just kind of how traffic circles can not be a pleasant place to be on foot or bike.
Okay, Robin, I hope that answers your question. Okay, highlights in Anacostia. The Anacostia Arts Center is located 1231 Good Hope Road Southeast, and it is closed on Mondays. So it's open 6 days a week, Tuesday to Sunday. This is the Anacostia Arts Center here. And okay, the Anacostia Arts Center houses a small theater for live performance. They also house Everlasting Vegan Restaurant, a bookstore, and a couple of boutiques. So all the things that they house is open Tuesday to Sunday. They're closed on Monday. Next slide.
If you're buying holiday gifts, get them soon.
Yeah.
Be nice to the businesses, to repeat what everyone else is saying.
Next slide, please. These are some photos of my favorite sites in Anacostia. The big chair. This big chair had been in this parking lot for as long as I can remember. So now it is a historical landmark. History of the big chair. There used to be a furniture store on this lot years ago. So the big chair was their symbol for the furniture. And one of my best memories of the big chair is that at Christmas time, they used to put a giant Santa Claus in this chair. And my father used to drive us there every year to see it. So I love the big chair, and I'm so glad that it's still there. Another nice thing to see is this memorial of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And this memorial of him is right on the corner of Martin Luther King Avenue and Good Hope Road, Southeast, right after you get off of the Welsh Bridge going into Anacostia. Next slide, please.
Estelle had a question. It was Curtis Brothers?
Mm-hmm. They asking?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I was a little girl. I don't know who the furniture store was. I just wanted to see Santa Claus. The Curtis brothers sound right, but I can't guarantee that's who it was 100%.
Let us know, Estelle, if you. Okay. Kathleen Franks is confirming yes.
Okay. Excellent. Places to eat. A few good places to eat in Anacostia is Turning Natural. That is a juice and smoothie bar that serves healthy food, smoothies, detox juices, pressed juices, and vegan options as well. Another place is Busboy and Poets. They serve delicious food, gluten-free, vegan, and vegetarian options. They also offers a bookstore, Wi-Fi, and spoken word nights. Caribbean Citations is an informal counter-service eatery offering Jamaican classics. Martin Luther King Deli, healthy and yummy food options. Like Vegetarian Restaurant. This is Everlasting Life that I already mentioned. It's a plant-based soul food, and it is located inside of the Anacostia Art Center. And Tony's Place is off of Minnesota Avenue, located at 1400 Good Hope Road Southeast, and they are open for breakfast and lunch. MLK Deli, their address is 3113 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast. And that's a picture at MLK Deli. On Caribbean Citations, their address is 1208 Maple View Place Southeast. And it's right off of Martin Luther King Avenue. Busboy and Poets location is 2004 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast. And Turning Natural location is 2025 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast.
And there's a shout out for Open Crumbs in the comments. So
Okay.
spreading the verbal love.
Okay, places to shop. Mahogany Books, that's the bookstore that is located inside the Anacostia Art Center. Nubian Human, that's the ethnic clothing store, self-clothing, accessories, and it is located inside the Anacostia Art Center. And Vintage and Charm, it is a unique and eccentric woman clothing boutique for the upscale and everyday. It is located inside the Anacostia Art Center. And the reason why I put these places down is because I know that they are open now during the pandemic. There are other shops, but I don't know how open they are or not. Because ours are iffy now during the pandemic. Next slide, please. Okay, that's it about the Anacostia River Trail. I hope that you found this to be informative. And now you know everything about the DC portion of the Anacostia River Trail. You know the bridges that are near there. You know the metro stations that you can have parking garage so you can catch the train and park and get there, and the stations that don't have parking garages. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Because we have the answers for you. I would also like to thank everyone for attending tonight.
Beth had a question before, or Barb, sorry, that I somewhat answered, but confirming about bicycling within Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. That is generally a no, but there are beautiful, new, glorious bike racks at Aquatic Gardens.
Yes.
That are
they usually have you lock your bike up at the bike rack, and then you just walk through the gardens and enjoy all the natural scenery. Also at the gardens, there are restrooms there for the public to use.
Question about daily hours of operations for the Art Center, Anacostia Art Center. Do you know, Lori?
No, on Sunday, they close at 4 p.m. I don't know what time they open. And during the week, I believe they close at 5, but it would be best to call to confirm their time because things may change during the pandemic.
Barb had a great question about the total number of miles of the DC portion of the Anacostia.
It's about 16 miles.
It kind of depends on whether you add bridges and spurs and all of that jazz.
And yes, I see Kathleen have a question about both sides of South Capitol Street Bridge able to cycle over. Yes, you can. Even during this construction, both sides are still open that you can cycle over.
And if you've been
It's on Saturday. I did it on Saturday. About construction, it might change. About up until this point, both sides have been open.
If you haven't checked it out, the East Capitol Street Bridge is in the middle of a large construction process, and they did a rather large upgrade. So as of like 2 weeks ago, you can now use the sidewalks on both sides of the bridge, and there's a new connection from the Anacostia River Trail to the bridge on the west side. That's technically, before this construction process, you could use the sidewalks. They were just not protected from car infrastructure and generally terrible. And now it's like pretty okay. And they're delightful.
Okay, Annette Thompson. I remember correctly that sometimes the trail block off by Navy Yard. Sorry, I missed that. I don't know if the trail being blocked off by Navy Yard.
Yeah, so there's right under the 11th Street Bridge on the west bank. Mm-hmm. There's a really short portion of trail that's been paved, but fenced off for, God, we're talking like 5 years at this point. It is part of a very large remediation process from Washington Gas, I believe, of soil contamination from 20th century industrial choices of us not caring about what we're putting in our soil and going, whee! And not entirely sure if it was a Superfund site or if it wasn't quite that bad. It is almost ready to be opened. There's some logistical stuff on fence moving and agencies. So that should be, it was gonna happen fall 2020. But I'm hoping we can, that they can get it in the next 3 months. And there might end up being me personally doing some maintenance vegetation stuff in order for that to happen, just because it would be great to have it open. And then the other thing is with Navy Yard, they will occasionally, that short section of trail on US Navy federal property, they will also close that. I haven't seen too many closures in the last few years. They were a little more rightfully touchy about things after the mass shooting, and were blocking off that section of trail more often. But they don't seem like they're doing that quite as often now.
Okay, we have a question from Colette, and she noticed that the Mount Vernon Trail is quite crowded since COVID, which makes social distancing a challenge. How does the art trail concern population at various times and days? I ride the art trail a lot, and it's fine. The trail is not very populated. You can distance yourself. I always wear my mask. because somebody might pass you. But it's not nowhere near like Mount Vernon Trail. On the weekends, I refuse to ride the Mount Vernon Trail because it's just too populated, too congested. People fly past you without announcing themselves. I just don't like it. But I don't have any of those problems on ARC.
I happen to be logged into the internal database of the trail counter on the Anacostia, so I just pulled it up. Busiest day of, so Saturday and Sundays for the Anacostia are the busiest, and it looks like about 10 a.m. to 1 is kind of peak usage, and then it kind of starts going down after that.
Did they tell you how many the number of peak? Did they give you an estimated number?
Let me look. I'm looking at a okay, so it was 5,000 folks, sorry, 5,000 pedestrians total for the month of October, and 18,000 for bicyclists for the month. And I know I'm forgetting Mount Vernon numbers off the top of my head. I know like Capitol Crescent and other like big busy trails that we're talking like thousands of folks per day. So back of the envelope head math, the Anacostia is definitely a lot lower.
Less busy.
And the Anacostia also has a lot of sections where it's wider than the Mount Vernon. I mean, the Mount Vernon is just like, was maybe wide enough when they built it in the 70s, but just like there's just not enough trail for how many folks want to use it and love it in 2020.
Okay, next question, Kathleen. Do you really have to walk your bike through the Navy Yard on the West Bank? I see that sign there, and I never walk my bike. So Ursula, do we really have to walk our bikes?
That's a tricky section. It's one of those things where like, if you look at like the DC bike map, like that section is part of the official trail. US Navy has just not been receptive to thinking about the like community that they're in, and they're like very, very risk averse about very specific things. The only enforcement I've seen is folks from the compound yelling, who are mostly just like volunteering themselves to be enforcement because they wish to have rules enforced, and aren't like any folks who actually have any authority. But some of them can be like, you know, some middle-aged white guy potentially with a gun because it's US Navy, like yelling at you can feel scary. So
I haven't experienced that luckily, but it's such a short path. It's like it only takes 2 minutes to ride through it. You're through it. So I don't even know why the sign is there, but yeah.
The trail counter. So you'll see they're on the east bank of the trail. There'll be a little like weird figure 8 loop in the trail bed, and then there's this weird post next to it. And so the weird post has a bunch of fancy, expensive computer stuff and very expensive French batteries. I was part of the team that was fixing them this year. So I was the one who received the very expensive French batteries from France with the like weird shipping stuff because batteries. And then there's a light and like a camera eye that will count it. And the counters differentiate cyclists versus bikers by metal mass. So if you are riding a carbon fiber bike, there's a good chance that you are a pedestrian according to the trail counter. And so there's the tubes underneath, and then there's that camera. And so things crossing that lens get counted and imported to internal databases, as well as actually DDOT just launched a public facing portal of their own. There was some tech issues between the counters counting and like it getting up to the internet being accurate. And I'm not sure if Mike Goodnow has fixed that yet. So maybe it's something you can look at. Robin was asking about the website. Bike Arlington has a great regional counter dashboard that has a lot of them, but there's a fair amount of sync issues going on. But let me I can find the DDOT one here. It's some sort of hard to find DDOT something. Did all of our chatter, and I'm seeing reference to Fort McNair. Were y'all clarified on things?
Yeah. Isn't Fort McNair a closed base anyway? So.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
WABA just submitted comments. Fort McNair is trying to change security stuff about their boundaries, and potentially locking down the Washington Channel, which is the waterway to the west of Fort McNair. And so DC government, WABA, and some other folks submitted official comments of like, hey, the concern there is if we have a lot of like official security, like level orange, who is it, that recreation there could get officially cut off. And it also doesn't allow the Anacostia River Trail to potentially extend through the base, which would be really cool, but definitely is a challenging and complicated ask because yeah, Fort McNair is closed and their military tends to not be generally enthused about opening things up, which is, I get.
Okay, any other questions?
Cool. Definitely, if you have more questions, throw them in the chat. Both Laurie and I have much love for the Anacostia. We could probably keep talking about it for a while. Yes, East Bank Trail, low-hanging trees. Kathleen, are you referencing right after like the big hill just before you hit Mayfair and that kind of that weird tunnel there? No, okay. There's a bunch of honeysuckle there. East Bank vegetation is mostly the responsibility of National Park Service. Oh, West Bank. Oh, right at Congressional Cemetery. Yeah. There's a work order in for that. So for other folks, the West Bank Trail, right south of RFK, curves around behind Congressional Cemetery, and then goes under Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge. So the stuff right where those like Civil War era fences at Congressional Cemetery, that is all National Park Service property. There is a work order out for that, a request in for them to come with a big ooh, yes. Drew had a good point. Multiple Kathleens. That when everyone is asking fabulous questions, if you want to just put it to have your question to all panelists and attendees, then everyone can see questions. There's realizing that stuff was coming just to Lori and I. So a question was about hanging branches. So yeah, Congressional Cemetery, that's National Park Service. They're down to about 5% of their maintenance staff right now. So they're doing some things, and that definitely is on their radar. But there's a lot of things that they're just kind of making do even more than they have been, which is definitely frustrating. And the amount of invasive plants around that section is pretty high, which are plants that are very good at growing fast and big, which gets extra annoying. And then Yacht Club, if that's on the road there, that I would put to 311 as a request to DC government. Probably I would just do a tree inspection category. And if it's that little like overgrown section, I actually did that, and last week I cut all that. There's DC Water had that 4th and M section with a lot of overhanging grasses. So that was me and a sickle. Art projects planned for the public art projects planned.
All right, I just put up the number for AAC. It's 202-631-6291. And I suggest that you call them to find out, because things changes in this pandemic. And the hours for them are 10 to 7 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Sunday, they are 10 to 3 p.m. And on Tuesday, they're 10 to 7 p.m. So Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 7 p.m. and Sunday, 10 to 3 p.m. And that's a change just from this weekend, because this weekend I stopped by there like 4 o'clock and they was just closing up. So some more stages are going in on the pandemic, so hours are changing.
And for maintenance questions on the Anacostia, there are a number of different agencies, and like it's complicated and weird. But WABA does have a trail ranger contract. That is how we are funding tonight's thing. And one of the things we do professionally is report maintenance issues and know which agency and who to poke about stuff, which is why you all have heard all of my particular like clarifying stuff. So just generally, like, it's either 311 to DC government or calling National Park Service. But if you have questions, like trailranger@waba.org or outreach@waba.org as email addresses, if you got questions, absolutely appropriate and encouraged to like send me an email, and I can either tell you what to do, or just forward the email to potentially the appropriate folks. We're also on Twitter at WABA Trail Rangers.
I just put the hours for the Anacostia Art Center in the chat box for everyone to see. But like I said, since this time everything is iffy, it's always best to call first. Are there any other questions? Well, Ursula and I would like to thank you for attending. We hope that this has been very informative and gave you an in-depth look at the art and encourage you to get out on your bike and ride it and enjoy it for yourself. Because as you said earlier, her and I definitely enjoy it a lot. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Ursula.
I'm gonna send a follow-up email to everyone, and we'll have this somewhere on the WABA website. It should be waba.org/tips. And any other further questions that come to mind later, trailranger@waba.org goes directly to me, and that's doing this sort of stuff is the job. So strongly encouraged, and looking forward to see you all out on the trail.
All right, everybody be safe. Don't forget your mask. Very important, mask up and distance. We want you to be well and safe. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.